Hey, welcome. So I'm about to go on pretty soon here, and we are going to be doing our class session number 4. And so I had a little bit of idea here that I wanted to share some of this information with you. I know you're probably going to find it helpful. So I'm going to dive in and share my screen. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. I'm gonna leave it like this instead of presenting it all pretty because I'm going to jump around. I'm not sharing the entirety of this information, but I'm sharing enough to help you. So let's jump to here. First things first, obviously phosphorus is not required on American labels. We're pushing. A lot of us are active out there and trying to make this happen, but we're just going to cross our fingers at this point. And potassium is required on the labels, but it's not always on there. You will either see it listed within these here, or you're going to see it down below in a box that has the percentages. So for example, potassium, 12%, right? Okay, it can be confusing because, well, what does that mean? Is 12% good? What does that actually mean? Well, in the program, I'll show you how you translate that 12% into actual numbers. We walk through that. And then, of course, there's this piece, let's not tell them what that really is, right? There's some things they're not putting on the labels, or they're disguising them as those big scientific ingredient words, right? And you don't know what that is, right? You're like, wait, I have no idea. All right, I'm going to scroll right through because I want to give you an example. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. So if you ever see dipotassium guanylate on a label, you're going to look at that and you're going to say, oh, it must be potassium, right? That's my first thought because you see the word potassium. Yep, it's a phosphorus additive. How in the world were you ever going to know that? Right? I know, it's terrible. So that's why in my program, I literally have lists of these things. So you can go through and like look them up. If you're in the online version, then you can actually do like Control F and find the ingredient. If you're working in the book instead, well, then you're going to have to kind of go through and find it. But it's there. I have that information there just to help you if you're curious and you want to know, if you need to know what that is. All right, let's jump back. So one of the things I want to let you know that we found out really early on is when you are going and you are looking at your meats and you pick up a package, and this is very common with like poultry products, sometimes with the pork, occasionally with the beef, but you're going to see some kind of statement on there. It's either going to be like a bold thing, like it's a good thing, or it's going to be a small print because they don't want you to know. And it says something about some sort of retained solution, water solution, something like that. Look for that statement, because what that really means, that solution is comprised of either and or potassium, phosphorus, or sodium. Yeah, that they're injecting into that meat. Yeah, it's pretty sad. And when you move into like the frozen meats, think of like your frozen chicken breasts, it's even higher. Yeah, they get as high as 20%. I've seen, I think the one I saw said like 22%. Yeah, no, we haven't bothered with those things since we found this out. We just weren't willing to risk it. Okay. Oh, I gotta jump on that. There we go. So another thing to look for is when you go up to your, like the butcher's area in your grocers, right? You go up there and they've got all the meats all sitting out there, all nice. I want you to go up there and I want you to ask them, are you butchering in-house? Are they actually doing all of the butchering? More than likely, they are not. They are actually getting their meats pre-cut from a supplier. So ask them who that supplier is. We did this. I said, go pull the box. I need to know. So he came out with the box and said, this is who supplies our meat. And yes, they do use, I believe it was sodium and potassium that they inject the meats with. Yep. So we found out. Now, it's not meant to be discouraging. You can absolutely still use this stuff. Just keeping in mind that because it's been injected with the sodium and potassium, that means, it's probably just a little smidge higher than if it hadn't been. But there's the cooking process that's also going to be, it releases some of those juices, right? So a little bit's going to come out there. So I don't want you to be like all worried about it. It's simply for your knowledge that this is a thing. It is out there. And when you start reaching these solutions that are like, 12%, 15%, 20%, that's getting a little high. I wouldn't bother buying that product, right? I'd look for something that has the smallest amount that you could find. Okay. And so it's a good idea, get to know your local butcher. If you have one in the area, get to know them because they are, they're doing the butchering in-house, right? They're not needing to inject all of this stuff. So you can get a lot of stuff. This is where we get our plain uncured briskets, right? We can go get those. They haven't been treated in any way, so we can make our own corned beef. We can get chicken feet to make stock. We can get plain, ground pork, and you can get all these things in the amounts you need. So now, for example, if you have my cookbook, you're going to see that it's very common. We're using around 12 ounces of some sort of meat in that recipe. Well, when, everything's about a pound, right? So a lot of times you can go in there and just say, I just need 12 ounces. You can do this at your grocer's, say, I just need an 8-ounce chicken breast, or those 4-ounce pork chops. I just need, 2 of those for my 8 ounces that I need, or I need 3 of them for my 12 ounces, however you need to work that. So a lot of times you can save some money by doing it that way, being at your butcher or there at your grocer and getting the actual amounts you need. So you don't have to worry about freezing the rest, right? We go through all of that in the program, how to deal with that, how to manage it, use up those things. But for now, that's what I wanted to share with you. Okay, so the general rule, and you've probably, if you downloaded a lot of those free guides that I have available, you've probably seen that the general rule is 3 to 4 ounces of meat per meal per day. Okay, it's general guideline for stage 3, but that's not going to fit everybody. Absolutely isn't. My husband's stage 3 and cannot do that. So it's all unique based on your needs. It's just a general guideline. The fresh 4 to 5, this is what I was just saying, is when you go get those 4-ounce pork chops instead of those big 8-ounce ones, right? Say, oh, I just need the 4. That helps you to portion those things out much easier. As far as, organic, of course, it's going to be our best, but we all know it can be pricey. So look for those with that, like I said, the smallest solution possible. That'll be helpful. Another tip is when you're dealing, this is especially with like ground poultry, flip those packages over. They often are going to use some sort of phosphorus-based preservative. Instead, look for the ones that are either using the celery juice or the rosemary extracts. I believe it's Honeysuckle and Jenny O that have these. So take a look. Those are some options, some better options than having all the extra additives that are really going to do harm to our kidneys. Okay, so another area is the bakery. Oh, I love the bakery section so much. However, it does not love kidneys. Okay, most of these things are actually pretty high in sodium. And A lot of them are going to use potassium and or phosphorus additives as preservatives or even dough conditioners. So it can get really tricky. Again, go and ask the head of the department for the nutritional information. And if they cannot provide it, you probably don't want to bother. And if you do bother, then you got to keep in mind that you're probably consuming much larger amounts than you probably want to. Okay, here is my one exception. I don't want to make croissants, so I will buy the mini croissants. That way we can still have them. The sodium hit is not going to be as huge as, when you get those gorgeous, large, buttery, flaky croissants. Right? If we get the mini ones, it's not going to be quite as bad. And we're still having our croissants, right? We're curing a craving. We're able to, make our egg sandwich, do what we want with it. Okay. Let me jump over to here. This is the labels, of course, as we all know. You're going to start here with your serving sizes, right? You want to look at what that is because so often you're going to see something that is just ridiculous. I have actually flipped products over and seen them list 1/8 a teaspoon as a serving size. And I'm like, no, nobody only uses 1/8, right? But you're going to flip it. You're going to look at that label. You're going to see that sodium and go, oh, hey, that's not too bad. And you get home and you're going to use a tablespoon. Now it's really bad, right? Right? I know. It's horrible. The things that this industry is allowed to do, and they will do that so that way they can put some kind of label on it, like, oh, it's low sodium. It might be low sodium if you really are only using 1/8 of a teaspoon, but nobody does. So you have to be very careful. Start by looking at what that serving size is and think, how much am I really going to use, right? Think of ketchup. How many people take that bottle and just go use on their hamburger, right? How much are you really using? So think about that. If you have to watch calories, of course, check those. You're going to want to, we're all trying to eat healthy, obviously. So, these are things you're going to want to double check, especially if you're somebody who has to watch these things. These daily values. Now we talked about those percentages. Here's a little tip. If you see a percentage that's 20%, or more, when you see like potassium listed down here, sometimes you might even see phosphorus. That's pretty dang high. 5% or less, you're good. Move forward. Yep. And getting enough of these, obviously, this is some more information if you have to watch those. And then footnotes, this is just for anything here that people, a lot of these are kind of like those programs out there that make you count things. Or we don't get into all that here, but this is just extra notes for other kinds of diets. Okay. And I've got notifications jumping up here. Now, if you had received my emails, if you're on my email list, then I did supply you with some information. I'm going to stop share here. I supplied you with some information about what to look for or what to avoid as far as like sodium and stuff on the label. But again, there's a lot more information that goes into all of this. For example, like I mentioned, finding out, well, if it says 12% potassium, what does that mean? Okay, we'll show you how to translate that. We go deeper here into all of those, like those names that they, big scientific-y stuff. We also dive into how to calculate out certain, I'm trying to read my little things here because they're so little now down here. Nutrient calculations, those kinds of things. If you're dealing with something where you have that soy sauce and it says, 1 tablespoon is 480, how much is 2 teaspoons, right? Oh, I hate math class. Let me tell you, I hate math class. But our teachers are right. We're going to need it. Anyways, we dive into all kinds of different calculations that are needed for that to help you with that too. Anyways, I'm just double checking if there was anything else. Okay. Now, the one other thing too was the labels. When you were dealing with labels, you've got things that are labeled, you know, salt or sodium free, very low, or it says low or lower. It says reduced, light, lightly salted, no salt added, unsalted. There's so many labels out there, right? We clarify all that for you too, so you know what those mean. All right, so that's a little bit of helpful information I wanted to share with you guys when it comes to that fun stuff. And if you want to know more, you are absolutely welcome to either purchase the book, it's all in there, or join the online program. It's all. If you want the online classes, then you can, if you enroll in the online program, you're already going to have access to online classes. If you purchase the book, you can optionally grab a one-year membership to be in these classes as well. But this is just a taste of some of the stuff that we work through in the program. So I hope you found it helpful. So I'm teaching this class in about 15 minutes. So I'm gonna run.